What's up, witches? It's me, Luna the Zen Witch, and Pywacket, here with another video on Samhain traditions. And today I want to tell you about one of my favorite Samhain spells, and that is the apple spell. Welcome to my Samhain set. So I've got a card here from the Merlin Tarot, and it's one of my favorite images of the crone. It's the Death card. But you see her standing, you see the death crone standing there with the apple in her hand and the sickle knife, and the apples on the ground and the spider in the orchard. And the apple, of course, is the fruit that comes at this time of year. It's the last of the harvest of the orchard fruits to come into ripeness. And so, of course, this being the crone time of year, it is her fruit. I think I'll do a separate video on the dying and rising god and the death crone at, the deity forms at Samhain. But these videos, if you've noticed, I'm not like specifically talking about, specific pagan traditions or specific gods and goddesses, because I want these to be adaptable to your particular system. Just talking about in general the energies, and hopefully these are things that you can fit into your tradition as well. So we are celebrating the crone at this time of year, and we are celebrating the things that have died. We are celebrating death. We are celebrating the fact that not everything lasts forever. Imagine if we lasted forever. We'd be in a hell of a mess right now, even way, way more of a mess. We'd have been long gone. So we do need things to pass away, and that's what we're celebrating at Samhain. Using the apple as a spell, you can do a spell that's the same as any kind of food spell. There are many, many food spells that you can do, and they're all sort of basically the same in that you are charging this item with your energies, with your intention, and then you consume that item. So you put the energy into the thing and then you consume it. It becomes part of you, and it's this full circle, wonderful thing. But the apple has another little aspect to it that makes it particularly magical at Samhain. So let's look at how to start this. And here's my beautiful bowline that I just got a year or so ago. I love it. I love it. Let's start with the thing that I didn't do, which is lighting my charcoal. Because what we want to do, of course, when you're working any kind of spell magic, is you want to make sure that the materials that you're using have been consecrated. You want it to be a fitting vessel to hold the energy that you're raising and the intent that you're setting. So let's let that charcoal do its thing. Apples at this time of year, I'll tell you what else we're doing with them. Of course, we will be having cider and, hot mulled cider that we can add alcohol to, which is fucking awesome. I will be making an apple dapple cake. If you've never had one of those, please look it up, because woo, baby, is it good. I do, you pour a sauce over it. Like this buttery, sugary sauce. I add booze to that as well. So you get this, it's a cake that's not spiced. It's apple, but there's not spices in it. It's just, straight up the apple. And then after you do it in a bundt pan, and after you do it, I poke holes in it and you make this sugar butter syrup to pour. But I add whiskey. This year it's brandy. Getting brandy in it this year. Hell yeah. Apple butter, applesauce, all this wonderful apple stuff. And this too, while my charcoal is lighting, this came from a vine, a pumpkin vine that was a volunteer. We had little pumpkins like this last year from an orchard, and they sat outside because, you don't carve them, you just let them sit there. And some chipmunks got to one of them and chewed through it, and it rotted, and we just kind of left it in our front garden patch. And this year we had this fabulous pumpkin vine come up. And I thought, we'll never be able to keep that. The landscapers won't let us. So I dug it up and took it to my daughter's garden, where it did not survive. And then a second vine came up. And we thought, we'll let it go. It took over our entire front porch, and we got 3 little pumpkins like this out of it. So that was a nice little gift for us, considering it was Samhain like 7 years ago where they tore out our garden patch. So this was the revenge of Samhain. All right. So what I'm going to start with is I don't have my smoke pot, my sage pot here because there's no room. So we'll put a little leaf of sage on there. And we will smoke cleanse, asking by air and fire that any negativity, any residual energies except those which belong to the fruit itself be dispelled and cast away. And then we have a tiny little bottle of ocean water here, and ask that by fire or by earth and water that it be cleansed, blessed, and made whole. And then I am going to add, that will continue burning, I'm going to add as a blessing, and just a tiny bit so I don't smoke myself out. There it goes, off the edge. Oh dear. All right, there's one. Frankincense and myrrh. The frankincense is solar, so I ask for the blessings of the active and the solar principle and the god, the waning sun, and the myrrh is for the crone goddess, the dark goddess, and the moon, and I ask blessings from her as well on this beautiful fruit of the tree. Now, your intent at this time of year, think about the things that have passed away and honoring those, but also think about the things that maybe need to pass away, that you're ready to be done with. That, okay, I've gotten the lessons from this, I get it now, this has changed me as a person, valuing the changes that some things have put you through to the point that now I'm ready for the lesson itself to pass away. I have gotten the juice from the lesson, and now the rest can pass away. So think in those terms and start creating a picture of what you would like to take with you into the dark of the year. So we are releasing the form of the lesson, taking on the essence of the lesson, and taking that into the dark. So trying to think of some examples here. Let's look at COVID. Let's look at what's been going on this year. What have we learned from this? I mean, the form of this lesson has been harsh and extreme and very Plutonian. And there is also a video coming on the full moon chart for Samhain, so you can help align your spell intent with the energies of that full moon and of Samhain. We have been faced with life and death. We have been faced with mortality coming from outside, and we've been faced with this loss of control, this sense of loss of control. We've been faced with the fear. So let's talk about fear at Samhain as a huge theme. I mean, look at what we do. We dress up like scary things. We try to scare each other. So one of the big energies of Samhain is facing fear. The way you dispel fear is you face it down. It's not going to go away. Here's the bad news. Fear isn't going to go away. It's hardwired in us to keep us safe. Fear is what keeps us safe. It's what keeps us on alert for things that are threatening to us. This last 8 months, we have been, 7 months, however long it's been, an eternity. We have been face to face with fear every day, not just because of COVID, because of politics. We have exercised every day our fear muscles by looking at others and fearing them as others, fearing what they might do to us, fearing, how they think of us. And we've faced these fears. We've faced the fears of COVID and our own mortality. And it's time to look at what we've learned from that. I've learned that I have pretty crazy skills of survival, of stocking up our house and feeding people. And I knew that before. I have learned, I've learned that I do have skills, that I'm resilient, that I can look at my own mortality and the risk that I'm taking, even going out of the door, and I can take that risk in order for my family to survive. I've also learned that I can get used to things to the point where it gets kind of dangerous again. So I've learned that I can get used to fear, and that getting used to it can maybe make me not so safe anymore. So the value of fear here is that we do pay attention to it, and we acknowledge that to be fearless is to be foolish in a lot of cases. Now, in terms of things like creativity, to be fearless, and to be fearless to me means to understand that there are circumstances where our fear is not justified and where we really do have to face it down and move forward. So like in your personal expression, if you've got fears about how people are going to receive what you're doing and how they're going to think of you, that is certainly a fear that deserves to be faced down and deserves to be set aside as I'm going to do it anyway, because what counts is what I think about me. So maybe time to look at fear itself, the function of it, so that we can question in the circumstances when it arises, we can question, is this fear serving me or is this fear limiting me? Fear that serves us is an alert that says I'm going into an unsafe situation. I better do something to protect myself. Fear that's not functioning is habitual, trauma-based, and based in things that aren't life or death. What somebody thinks of me, for the most part, is not going to put my life in danger just by their thoughts. But other things can. So I would say it's a really, really good time to just look at what the function of fear is in my life, how I can claim it as a healthy alert and alarm, how I can thank it for keeping me safe over these past 7 months and really over my lifetime. But looking at how I can let go of the habitual fear and the toxic fear and the things that take over your life when it really isn't life and death. And what do I want to take into the dark? I want to take into the knowledge, the knowledge that I'm stronger than I thought I was. I have learned so much. I mean, I've learned what I'm like in a pandemic. I've learned what I'm like in a fascist takeover of my government. I have learned a lot about myself, and I'm going to harvest that. That's what I'm going with here. I am going to harvest that, what I have learned about myself through these trying times. So that's what I'm going to focus on. And when you're doing a food spell, think about this. Because food spells can really weed out stuff that you shouldn't be doing, right? Think about if I wanted to do a spell like on somebody else, which my feelings about that. Don't do it. Just don't do it. But if I wanted to do a spell because I'm really angry and I want to, and I'm going to put that into this apple and then I'm going to consume it. Not good. You don't want to be consuming that kind of negativity. So with a food spell like this, you really do need to concentrate on the juice, the nourishment that comes from the working that you're doing. And what I'm going to nourish myself with this spell is my own resilience, my own resourcefulness, my own compassion. And I think that's where I'm going, resilience, resourcefulness, and compassion. Now, to charge a spell, what I would do, and I'm not going to do this here because it's going to take some thinking, but this is starting my process for this coming Samhain on what I'm going to do on Saturday. I will work those words into a chant, into a verse, into something rhythmic. And you can even just do resilience, resourcefulness, compassion, resilience, resourcefulness, compassion, resilience, resourcefulness, compassion. You can just repeat those words over and over again. Resilience, compassion, resourcefulness, resilience, compassion, resourcefulness, resilience, compassion, resourcefulness. See? I mean, just make it into a rhythm. It doesn't have to sound like a great song. It doesn't have to be a hit. Right? What it has to do is engage your brain, engage the parts of your brain, the rhythmic part of your brain, the language part of your brain, the speech part of your brain, the hearing part of your brain. Got it? Okay. And then when you have taken this apple and you have done your energy working, so I would be holding this apple. My hands are buzzing right now, y'all. This is why we practice magic and meditation, because then when you call on it, it is there. So you hold it in your hand. It would be great if you have like a recording with drumming on it. I'll drop some links below. Sacred Earth Drums is something I've been using since the early 90s. But find, and Vas, those ones are very rhythmic. African drums, shamanic drums. Heilung is another fabulous group. So look for things that are rhythmic, that are going to get the energy flowing for you. And do your working to music. It makes it so much easier. So many resources we can use to make our magic more potent with, very minimal effort. So let's do that. Again, I will drop links below to some tunes that I really like for raising energy. And you will hold this and you will listen to the drumming and you will start speaking your spell. And this is where you've got to be really zen. Here's the zen part. In the moment, not thinking about what it's going to be like, when the energy is raised. And of course, you're going to have an image in your mind of how you would like this resilience, resourcefulness, and compassion to show up going into the dark of the year. Right? So make that image in your mind, and then you're engaging the visual cortex as well. So have that image of how you would like it to manifest. And resilience, resourcefulness, compassion, those are abstracts. What do they look like? It's up to you to decide that. But you might also have something very specific that you need to manifest. A specific amount of money, a specific situation, a living situation, a creative project, something like that you want to manifest. So you can put that in there as well. And either or, you could do one or the other, you can do one and the other. But it's always better when we're dealing in specifics rather than abstracts. So for me, I'm thinking that the gratitudes part would be about the resilience, resourcefulness, and compassion. So entering into this with gratitude for those things, and then formulating what I want to manifest, which is, my first 1,000 subscribers, my Discord being active, launched in an active community, my content expanding. So that's what specifically I am going to be focusing on manifesting. And I will be visualizing sitting here, the joy I have in doing this content for you. I mean, it really is. I've experienced an expansion of my joy, which means that I'm more creatively motivated to create content, and I've got ideas flowing. So it's like things are from where I was last year, a year ago when I relaunched my channel, how much things have blossomed. And so I'm going to continue that and take that into the dark with me. So when you have done your charging, and I was talking about the zen of the moment, sorry. So when you start doing your chanting, you don't have to start off with rah, 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 okay? That's kind of forcing. Start off with just where you are and saying the words, listening to the rhythm, listening to the drumming. And boy, I wish I could put the music on this video right here, but YouTube has gotten so shitty about that. I can't blame the artists, but so you're listening to the drumming. And you're saying, and then you're going to feel, just pay attention to your body. You're going to feel the energy start to pick up. You're going to feel the energy start to build. And then you can catch on, write it, and then you really do start to pump it up on your own. And when you reach that moment of climax, and it's a perfect way to state it too, taking and blowing that energy into the apple, blowing it in and letting it go through your hands into the apple. And then letting the energy kind of come down, letting it settle. I always bind my spells. By all the power of 3 times 3, this spell bound around shall be, to bring no harm nor return on me. As I do will, so mote it be. Now we have a double-edged sword going on this Samhain, because it's Samhain. And so for a Samhain working, ordinarily, because it's a solar festival, you don't have to work for the energy. The energy's there. The energy of death is there, and you can just say, I step into this energy and I claim it for this season. Here's the energy that I claim. Thank you for it. It's a gift from nature, right? But it's a full moon. So we're also going to be working for magic. So there's a double thing here. So you could do a spell, just a gratitude with an apple, do a different spell, maybe a burning spell for your moon spell. You could, again, there's a lot available. But here's the real magic of the apple. And this can be a central point of a Samhain ritual, is the mystery of the apple. So here we hold the fruit of death. And it represents the ending of the growing season. It represents the door closing on the earth being fruitful and growing, at least in our hemisphere. But the fear comes up. All right, what happens now? Well, there's a promise in this apple. And here it is. I feel like I'm going to have my husband sharpen my bowline. Oh, these apples are so juicy. This is a Melrose apple, which is Ohio's state apple. Yeah, that didn't cut very well because this needs to be sharpened. But here is the mystery of the apple. Inside is a pentagram when you cut crosswise. That is the promise of the elements coming together. That is the promise of the goddess, that she moves through her seasons, each in turn, that everything is blessed by the pentagram, by the fire, the earth, the air, and the water. And there's the promise, the mystery. And then what you do is you consume it. Oh my God. The best fucking apples. Juicy, crunchy, sweet, tart. Fuck yeah. Now, over on my altar are some, like right there, are a couple of these that have dried since last year. Those seeds are going to go into the ground. I just had this one yesterday. I'm going to save those seeds too. I'm definitely a seed saver. And come Beltane, I'm going to put those seeds in the ground. I'm going to plant some Melrose apple trees. So here's where you start thinking too, in terms of the entire wheel and in terms of the entire year, and think about, here's what I'm doing at Samhain. How is that going to translate to the other pole at Beltane? And you can have your own apple tree, you know? It's an amazing thing. So that is a spell that you can do for your Samhain celebration. I hope that gave you some good information. Let me know what kind of working you're going to be doing if you feel like sharing. I hope you're subscribed to my channel. Please like the video. It's going to help more people see what I do as I'm trying to grow. Please also, if you want to send me a donation, there's a Patreon link, and there's just is there just a regular donate button still? I don't remember. Anyway, you can donate, you can join my Patreon, you can join my Discord, you can buy me a deck, and I'll do a reading for you on my unboxing. I really appreciate you being here, and I'm so excited about the new content that I'm going to be offering, and I hope you get a lot out of it. I am wishing you in advance a blessed and life-changing Samhain. You decide what that's going to look like. Good luck to you, everybody. I will see you tomorrow for another unboxing. Until then, this is Luna the Zen Witch. Blessed be, my friends.